inspired, fully engaged. You're tuning in to Reality with Vicki Gunvalson.
Welcome everybody back to Reality with Vicki. I'm super excited to have Candy Washington on today. I purposely did not read everything about you because I wanted you to really kind of come on and really say who you are, what you're doing, and all I do know is I'm super proud and I'm looking forward to all the great things we're going to do together. So welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. I first want to say thank you, Vicki. You are a woman that has personally inspired me. Just want to be very transparent about that. Seen you on Bravo on your shows, and you are an entrepreneur. You're family oriented, and you really believe in sisterhood and bringing everyone together. So just thank you for this opportunity. So I just wanted to first and foremost say that.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I just interrupt one moment. When you're filming a reality show and you don't have the editing rights, you are handicapped on how they're going to portray you. So when I talk to young women like you that have been inspired to be a businesswoman, be self-sufficient, not depend upon anybody else to really follow your dreams, that makes me feel like, okay, maybe they did do an okay job on editing for the little bit that they did the good stuff, So that makes me feel good.
Yeah, so I can say for me personally, and also with my friend group, we have group chats about the show, and you are definitely one of our favorites. And I know it's called The Real Housewives, but I think that needs to be changed because The Real Housewife really was the woman making the money, bringing the exposure, having dynamic relationships. So it wasn't really about being supported by your husband and you're a housewife. No. It was really more about being an empowered woman who is creating the life that she wants on her own terms. So I definitely love that about you. Sure. About me, for those of you who may not know me, I'm Candy Washington. I'm the founder of 1214 Media Productions, where we create inspiring content across TV, film, digital, and publishing platforms. So we've written 4 books and we've had them published across all platforms. We executive produced, wrote, and cast a film called Narcissist that is now available on Amazon Prime, and it's also available on SoFi TV.
I have to stop you there because that name, that word, narcissist, has been thrown around, just in loose conversations. And I think most people don't know what that is. And I do because I was with one. But let's just pause there for a moment and tell the listeners and viewers what a narcissist is. I'm reading more about narcissists than empaths. So where they don't have any empathy. And that was my ex, didn't have any empathy that what I was going through. So briefly just talk about narcissism and why it's being, 10 years ago, nobody talked about narcissism, right? Now it's like everybody's a narcissist.
Yeah. So I think clinically, narcissism is a mental disorder. It's like a personality type, a personality disorder, and it's actually very serious. It's people, exactly like you said, they lack empathy, which means they lack the ability to understand how someone else may feel. They usually really have a hard time apologizing. They have a hard time taking accountability. They're really just focused on themselves, what they want, what they need, and they don't really think about how it impacts the lives of other people around them. You have malignant narcissists who are people who will do it at the extreme detriment of other people. It could be someone who is willing to financially drain you or drain you of your energy, or they also try to isolate you. They want you to be completely reliant on them. And narcissists are usually drawn to people who are empathic or who may be a little bit more codependent. And those people, which I am, I'm definitely more of an empathic person, definitely had my own codependency issues. And codependency is not a mental disorder. It's not a mental disease. It's just a conditioning. You're just conditioned to be a giver, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to really enable people. Because as a person who's codependent, you think that you get your value and worth from what you do, what you give. A lot of caretakers are that way. And then narcissist is the exact opposite of that. They want to take, and suck. What can you do for me? What can you give for me? How can I use you? So that's more of the clinical part of it. When we talk about it more conversationally, when it's thrown out there, a narcissist, you think of someone who's just egotistical, taking a lot of selfies, all about themselves, all about money, someone who's very shallow, who's just like me all the time. So you have the clinical narcissist, which is a serious mental disorder, and those people can actually be very detrimental to people's lives. And then you have the more, loose idea of a narcissist that we think about, oh, she's really into herself, or he's really cocky, kind of that. And the film that I wrote, it's more in alignment with that egotistical person. It's about a reality starlet, and she's a social media influencer, and think of like a young Lindsay Lohan,
like me, social media influencer and reality star, and totally got taken advantage of because I'm totally empathetic. I need attention. When I said to Don years ago, my love tank was empty, he didn't even know I had a love tank. And I'm like, well, it's empty. He's like, I don't even know you have a love tank. I'm like, that's our problem. You don't know I have a love tank. So I think it's interesting because I'm hearing it more and more and more, like empath and narcissism. So ladies or gentlemen, that if you're listening to this is a real, like you're proving, you're indicating this is a real clinical diagnosis of a person, and you can never change them. They are who they are, unless they want to change, and most narcissists don't want it. They like who they are. They don't want to change.
Yeah, most narcissists, they're the way that they're wired, it's almost impossible for that personality type to truly change. They lack that level of self-awareness. And also, unfortunately, it works for them. If you have been allowed to do whatever you want to whoever you want, and you continuously get away with it, and you continuously find people to basically, be a vampire and suck their energy, suck their time, suck their life, suck their money, then why would they don't have a reason to stop, because they're getting what they want. They're almost like a bully until you stand up to that bully, until you take away, that bully's power. That bully's not going to stop bullying you.
Right. And what I'm finding more about, not to interrupt you, about narcissism is that most of the relationships, they come on thick, they come on strong, they come on.
It's called love bombing. So what the narcissist does, they will love bomb you. Like, you're so beautiful, you're so amazing, I can't wait till we do this. When this happens for us, we're the best couple ever. I can't believe I met you. There's no one like you. You understand me so much. They love bomb you. So you move from 0 to 100 so quickly, and it's so intense that you get consumed by it. Consumed by it. And especially if you are an empathic person or a codependent person, you tie up your identity into that relationship. So then boundaries become very unclear, where you start, where they end, what you want, what you need, what they want. And you get so consumed by trying to keep proving your value and your worth to this person that you're bending over backwards and you're doing whatever to get to that person. And then also, one thing that I know for sure happens in those relationships, it's called the drama triangle. So you will have the empathic person who is, a good person, they just want love and they want to be loved. Then you have the narcissist that comes in, and then usually the other part of that triangle will be a loved one. Say it's like your mom, who is like, this guy really isn't good for you. Then the mom becomes the villain. Or if it's your daughter, your daughter, who's like, this guy really isn't good for you. Or if it's like your friends who are like, this guy isn't good, then that person becomes the villain. That person becomes like, it's us against the world, and it becomes like this drama triangle. And then of course, like in the relationships, when your guy is not doing good things, you want to turn to your friends and family for support, but then you want them to support you if you stay in the relationship too. So that's why it becomes this cycle of drama. We're against the world, but then this person is bad. But then when that person is mean to me, then this person is my friend and my loved one. But then when we're back together, now that person's against the world. So it's a cycle of blame, repeat, drama, blame, repeat, drama, until you get out of it.
How do you get out of a relationship that is so dysfunctional, like you say, this drama of this cycle? Because most women, and it could even be men, it's not gender specific, it could be either way. When you're in it, you try to hang on as long, like I was hanging on to Brooks as long as I could. I was like, I am going for this ride. He's the best thing that's ever. It was so, I was so confused, and everybody saw it but me. everybody saw the dysfunction but me. I was like, no, he loves me. Our sex was incredible. Our communication was incredible.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is everything I've been looking for. So
I think the way you get out of it is just, I think it's so personal, but I would say generally it's when you get to the point where you have just had enough. Every person, every woman, every man has their own personal breaking point. So it doesn't matter what someone else says or thinks about your relationship. If you're not ready to be done with it, no matter how dysfunctional it is, you're going to stay in it, and like sex is a big part of it. It's that stickiness. It's what keeps the two of you, together. And it's psychological, it's physiological, it's emotional. They call the narcissist and the empath, it's almost like magnets. Like you're literally drawn to each other. Narcissistic people and empathic people are actually drawn to each other because the narcissist derives their value and their worth from what they can get from people, and codependent, empathic people derive their value and their worth from what they can give to people. So it's basically two sides of the same coin. But what you want to do is you want to become that whole independent person. So I derive my worth and my value from myself, and that's called intrinsic value. So my own personal journey with that was I used to be a performance-based value person. As long as I was providing and doing and getting the gold star and being the best friend, being the best daughter, being the best girlfriend, always giving, never stopping to think about what are my own wants and needs, what are my own boundaries, is my love tank full or not, just being overextended to now I have intrinsic based value where I feel I am valuable and worthy because I am. I am here, therefore I am enough. I don't have to give, I don't have to show, I don't have to provide, I don't have to do anything to be worthy of love. I merely am worthy of love because I
love that.
My presence is the present. And that's when you stop overextending yourself. That's when you stop being exploited. That's when you stop being used. That's when you make very clear and consistent boundaries. This is how you can treat me. This is how you can't treat me. This is what you can expect from me. This is what you cannot expect from me. And that's when you really start to love yourself on that deep level. You really get that level of self-respect. That's when your external relationships change. That's when you no longer attract the narcissist. That's when you no longer
interesting, because people go into a pattern.
It's the pattern, but it's all about that internal work. Do you derive your value from you, or do you derive your value from everything outside of you? And that's really where the work is done.
Wow. Pretty incredible. So I've got some things I want to tie into the Financial Wellness with Vicki group that we have started. We've got almost 6,000 members, and I'm super proud of that. I did a vision board class yesterday. It was fun. But what I want to say is I just typed up some things that I want to talk to you about. So there are many dimensions of wellness. It's physical, social, environmental, financial, occupational, as well as spiritual. And I do my best to help guide people into the financial wellness, because we can be super healthy with our body and our working out and doing all that. But if we're not financially well, it's a plate that is got a section missing. So if you think of your plate, you've got your spiritual wellness, your physical wellness, your mental wellness, and all these different areas. So because I've been in finance for so long, I feel like it's kind of paying forward and making sure that people understand about debt and, if you lose your job, and should we get more credit card debt and all these different things. So we've partnered up with debt.com, and that's a separate subject. But I just feel like when you are in tune with yourself, like what you're helping people understand, then the plate becomes full on what you want to fill that plate with, whether you're with somebody or not. We are independent people by nature. We were born alone. We're going to die alone. Statistically. So don't get into schematics if you're a twin or if you're going to die in a car accident with your partner. We're just saying, in theory, you're a one person show. And yes, if you have the fortunate opportunity to find your soulmate and be a partner, you still have to take care of you. Right. And so I think that's what we're learning from you, Candy, is we have to take care of us. If my love tank is empty, I cannot look for anybody else filling it up. I have to fill it up myself. I have to be happy with who I am, what I do every day, my staff, my kids, my grandkids. Like, my happiness isn't coming from one person. it's coming from all the different levels of friendships and people that are in my life. And I think when you can know that there may be a bad person in your life and you may not be wanting to get him out of your life or her out of your life right now, there will be a time, is what you're saying, that you've had enough. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think if you're fortunate enough to get out of those situations, it does come down to when you've had enough and when you're ready to work on yourself. And I think, to your point, there are so many different dimensions of wellness, but I think at the core, your first love has to be self-love. And one thing that the narcissist does, since we're talking about that, is they'll tell you, oh, you're being selfish when you say no to them, or if you want to do something for yourself that they may or may not want to do. So you really have to switch your mindset, that looking out for yourself, making your own well-being your first and best priority. That's not being selfish. That's actually honoring and showing gratitude to your one unique and precious life that you have been given. So you always want to take care of yourself first, because if you are depleted, then you have nothing to give anybody else. Right. And the way that also, ties into like financial wellness, if you don't feel worthy, if you don't feel valuable, if you don't feel good about yourself, if you're not clear on who you are, then at work, you're probably not negotiating your fee. You're probably not, speaking up on your own behalf, going to your boss and saying, well, maybe you can't give me more money, but can we talk about a different like benefits package, or what does my 401k look like? You may not think that you're smart enough to figure out, the insurance plan that you need for yourself if you don't have that inner confidence, and maybe you let your boss or your coworkers, run all over you. Are you upping your rates? Are you advocating for yourself? Are you educating yourself? Do you believe that you are worthy and deserve it? Some people stay at a certain economic level simply because they don't believe that they deserve more. Right. They don't see it for themselves, or they have a negative mindset around money. They think, oh, all rich people are bad. They're all mean. They're all corrupt. They're all evil. So if the energy you're putting out is that rich people are mean, bad, and corrupt, then how are you ever going to attract money? And
never going to.
You're actually pushing it away from you. Yep. So when you get to the point where you can say, I am worthy and I'm deserving, I deserve a prosperous life, I deserve abundant life, then you can go to your boss with confidence and say, hey, I've been doing X, Y, and Z. Can we talk about a raise? Can we talk about a title? Can we talk about my 401k plan? Can we talk about X, Y, and Z? Or you have that confidence to say, okay, I have some savings now. I've always had a dream to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to bet on myself this time. I'm going to do that. And then when you talk to people who are, successful, particularly entrepreneurs, they always say, I go with my gut. I had a gut feeling about this. I had a gut feeling about that. So I went with my gut. And that was like the big idea that finally popped off. But if you are so disconnected with your own inner intuition, your own inner guidance, if you can't hear your own self, if you lack the discernment to hear that whisper telling you what to do, then you're going to miss those big moments. And then if you lack the confidence to follow your own guidance, if you have that whisper saying, go right, go right, go right, but everybody else is saying, go left, go left, go left, do you listen to the herd because you are too insecure to go your own way? Or do you listen to yourself and say, my gut is telling me to do this, let me go right? Because as long as you're following the herd, that's just what you're going to get. But until you're able to get your own discernment, have the confidence to listen to yourself, to know that at the end of the day, regardless of what anybody says, you always internally know what is best for you. And when you're able to get to that place, then you'll have the confidence to make those big decisions. You talk to anybody who's really at that level, Oprah, she's like, I got this feeling to do this, or like whoever, you look up to in that space, like a Richard Branson or whoever it is, they always say it was a gut feeling and they followed that intuition. So you have to really work on that. And when you work on your self-esteem, you work on your self-worth, then everything else comes into play. And exactly like you said, it's a holistic wellness. Some people are kicking butt financially, but they are suffering in their marriage. They are suffering in their family. They are suffering in their friendships. There are some people who have amazing friends, but they are poor. They are suffering in their finances. They are suffering in their family. So it's really about figuring out, how do you get to a place where you are whole And then everything from there flows. So then your finances and your friendships and your family and everything else can come from that place of, I love myself, therefore I advocate for myself on my behalf in all these different parts.
So how do you think somebody can start? I mean, basics right now, I journal, I do a vision board. I'm going through a little bit of transitions with my houses and my family and things like that. So, when you got this turmoil going on, I tend to journal because I want to get it out on paper. And then I want to look at it a month from now and say, did I accomplish, or did that fear, or that, because I'm one of the most insecure people there is. I mean, I'm just super insecure. I just have a fear of abandonment. It's crazy because I was never abandoned, but in my relationship now, I probably drive Steve crazy because I'm like, where have you been all afternoon? You're retired. I don't trust you. He's like, stop. I went to my mom's, or I did this, or,
Right.
I went for a motorcycle ride, but I'm like, are you going to leave me? Like, it's this constant fear that's driving him crazy because he's not doing anything wrong. But I have a fear of abandonment. I have a fear of being alone. I don't want to be alone. I want an incredible relationship. And he's a retired cop. So his emotions are zero, So I'm like shaking him all the time. Like, do you love me so much? So I think when we're in these relationships, we're opposites, so opposite, trying to figure out how to pause our anxiety and just say, you know what? He's going to do what he's going to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to be loyal and faithful and over communicator. But it does get you to this place of a hamster wheel. I mean, this insecurity that a lot of women have, and I've got a lot of girlfriends, it's real. I mean, it is real. And I'm sure men have it too, but I shouldn't be insecure at all. I should be thinking he's got the greatest thing ever.
Fabulous. You're like such a catch.
Well, I think that, but when you have a sense of insecurity, then it doesn't feel like that. Oh my God, like it feels like he's going to leave me,
Yeah. Well, first I would like to say thank you so much for being so transparent and vulnerable. And I think that sharing your story in such an honest and raw way will help a lot of women, because I think the first thing that kind of stops people from their healing is shame. They feel like ashamed of their feelings. They feel ashamed that maybe they're not where they want to be, either like emotionally or in the relationship. They feel embarrassed. They feel like everyone else has it figured out except for me. If I'm honest about what I'm going through, people are going to be like, well, what's wrong with you? All this stuff, which all of the shame and all of that, keeps you stuck. So just thank you so much for being so honest about that, because I think your story will lead to a lot of women being healed from it. So I think when you realize you're in that, I'm a big advocate for going to therapy, getting someone who is licensed in this field to help you, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a spiritual person maybe you go to that you trust, who really understands what's going on with you, that you can talk to. Because I think everyone should have someone in their life who is completely objective, not your mom, not your sister, not your daughter, not anybody like that. Someone who is completely objective and someone who is trained in the field to walk you through the process, because you can't get to somewhere by yourself that you've never been.
Right.
So you can't get feeling secure if you've never felt secure by yourself. And then that person.
That's a good statement. I have something I wanted to ask you about that. It says, I'm a people pleaser. So I would rather have my entire family, everybody people please except me. And then I could go to bed crying, but as long as everybody else is happy, that's all I need to know. So one of the things I wrote down, you call yourself a recovering people pleaser. What prompted you to change your behavior? Because I'm a people pleaser. My staff, my kids, my family, my everything, I put me on the last.
So what prompted me to change my behavior was when I moved to LA, which was about maybe 5 or so years ago now. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go out to LA. I'm going to make my dreams happen. I'm going to do social media, and I'm going to do on camera work, and I'm going to do all this stuff. But I very quickly realized that I didn't have really good boundaries or standards when it came to like negotiating on my own behalf. So if a brand came to me and like, oh, could you post this just for a product? I'd be like, oh, okay. But I didn't have, like, I would get that pit in my stomach when I had to tell people no, just very unclear boundaries, just very unclear on that stuff, and not really being my own advocate. But then when I got real with myself and I was like, okay, like, you know, you left your job in New York, you moved to LA, and you want to make this happen. You want to be a professional, and a professional person gets paid for their work. So you need to figure out what is it that is in you that is making you unable to simply ask for what you deserve, to simply ask for what, you know, your value and your worth is. Why do you get like the chills and the shakes and a pit in your stomach when you're just telling somebody no? How come you can't set boundaries at my worth? So I really had to start work on that. And then that's when I was like, you know what? I don't know where this is coming from. I'm sure something in my childhood. Let me go to therapy and talk about it. And so when I got to therapy, which I thought I was going to talk about negotiating and all this stuff and how could I have more confidence as a budding female entrepreneur, but then I quickly realized, to your point, you're like, oh, no one's ever abandoned me, but I saw this abandonment.
The fear of it. It's the fear of it.
The fear of it. But just because you can't say like my parents were there, so I wasn't abandoned. There are still moments that happen in your childhood that triggered the emotion of abandonment, or that you felt abandoned. And that is what your body is trying to avoid. So that's why it's projecting it, because it's like, I don't ever want to feel that way again. So let me protect myself. So the way I protect myself is I'm going to go on the offense. Like, where were you? What were you doing? Because I don't want to feel abandonment, because the underlying feeling there is just, don't leave me. I don't want you to leave. Right. So you're projecting that out. It's like, I'm going to get there before you do, or whatever. And so for me, when I went to therapy, I'm the youngest of 5 girls, and I was raised by a single mom. My mom is amazing and great. But like a lot of children raised by single parents, me and my mom became very enmeshed. So that's where my codependency came from. You know, I learned at a very young age to gauge how she was feeling and what her needs and wants were. And this is no shade. This is no negativity towards my mom. She's an amazing woman, amazing mother. She did everything for us and our children and her kids, but just naturally that's what happened. So I didn't learn to check in with myself. I became numb to what does Candy need? What does Candy want? How does Candy feel protected? How does Candy feel safe? You know, what are Candy's boundaries? What are Candy's likes and dislikes? I just learned very early on to think about, are other people outside of me okay? Because if the people outside of me are okay, then that means I'll be okay too.
Oh.
And so what used to protect me as a child is now sabotaging me in my adult life. So I use that to cope, because there was a part of me that thought my needs and my wants won't get met. So let me just pretend and deny and numb that I have wants and needs, because it's easier to say, I don't have any wants or needs. I'm good. I can help you out, but I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. I don't have any wants and needs. Than it is to say, hey, I have these wants and needs. They're not being met. I'm scared they're not going to be met. And that really hurts. And that's really scary. And I don't feel safe. So I think even if you don't have someone who wasn't there or someone physically abandoned you, there are different moments that can happen in your childhood that made you feel that way. And what your body and what your mind is trying to do, it's simply trying to protect you.
I see.
I had to get to the point where I had to name it, you know. I'm not going to tell you what I named it, but I would call it when I would get those feelings. When it would come up and it was just trying to protect me, but I would just say to it, hey, thank you. Like, I know you really want to protect me. Your job here is done. I will take it from here.
Wow.
So now that the coping things that I did as a child to feel safe, to feel protected, to numb myself, to deny myself that I had wants and needs, that was now sabotaging my adult life. Now I was a person who was, you know, completely, you know, intelligent, beautiful, talented, competent, but yet I couldn't negotiate on my own behalf. I couldn't push back. Like, I couldn't tell my friend no. Like, I'm Candy. Like, I'm like, you know, easy breezy. I'm always there for you. Like, no big deal. Nothing bothers me. I'm the cool chick, you know? But that's a fantasy, and that's not real. And what I had to learn was to embrace all of humanity. So and not just all of humanity, but all of my own humanity. So if I'm numbing myself to, you know, having wants and needs, or numbing myself to, you know, I would never get angry. You know, I was always bubbly and happy and upbeat. You know, I would never get upset. But so if I'm numbing myself to those things, then I'm also numbing myself to like genuine love and genuine friendship and, you know, all of the other stuff. You can't numb yourself to one thing and not others. You can't pick and choose.
Right.
So I had to choose to feel all of my feelings and to be a person. And then that gave me permission that I no longer had to be this super person who didn't need or want anything and I was just providing. It gave me permission just to be a human being, to have wants, to have needs, to have emotions, and all of that.
This makes me think about something while you're saying this before I forget.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more attractive than a confident woman. And so you can be aesthetically not the most beautiful, you could be overweight, you could be super skinny, whatever that it is. But when you are confident and you are kind, I think that's what makes women attractive. And that you are an attractive lady, but you get more attractive because you're so confident. And that's what I've gone through life, people saying I'm super confident, but then I go, but you don't understand my insecurities. You don't understand my fears. And so, but as you can move forward through life, those of you that are listening, if you can take anything from Candy is to find who you are, your push buttons of what you're not going to compromise on, stay true to your goals and your dreams. And, if you're with somebody who smokes cigarettes and he's never going to stop, I'm using this as an example, you can't change people, but you can set your boundaries of what you will permit in your life. And I think that's one of the things I'm taking away from you is being confident and being assertive on what you want as a human for your life. We're on this earth this much time. This is not a dress rehearsal. We are here, and we are here to create a life for us that will be impactful to others, and we can enjoy and have peace and harmony. But we can't do it if we're in this hamster wheel of, insecurity, trying to please everybody. And so that's these people pleasers that you and I are. I'm a people pleaser. I want to be sure everybody's good, and I lay my head down at night and I'll cry. Like, okay,
I'm recovering. Good. I don't do that anymore. You can change it. Yeah.
So proud of you. So I want to say a couple more things. So what are some basic tips for those that are listening that want to begin their own transformation? What is something that you can teach them, help them to start this transformation into a better quality life?
Yeah. So like I said before, definitely therapy, counseling, some type of objective support to get. And then after that, I would say start meditating throughout the day, either in the morning or at night. You don't have to jump in and do like a 15-minute clear your mind thing. Like, no, like baby steps, like any muscle, you build it up. Maybe start with 30 seconds a day and then go to 60 seconds and then 2 minutes, or start with, there's free guided meditations on YouTube or on a podcast, whatever, your issue is. If you need a guided meditation for self-love, if you want one for self-forgiveness or self-worth, just do a little bit of research and find out the ones that really speak to you. And remember that meditation isn't about stopping your thoughts or clearing your thoughts. It's about detaching from your thoughts and being able to get perspective on them. So then you can realize that you're not your thoughts, you're the thinker of your thoughts. If you think about it, you're like, oh, like I thought this and I thought, who's the I in that? That's your true essence. That's your higher self. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And when you're able to detach from it and get perspective, you can start to calm your mind. Like say if you have anxiety, right? And your mind is spinning, you can get that moment, meditate for a bit, detach from it and think, okay, thoughts, I see you, I release you. I choose to think about X, Y, and Z. Maybe you have another thing that's really good, especially for confidence, it's affirmations. I have a stack of affirmations that I say every morning and every night. I am worthy, I am valuable, I am enough. And then I put things that I want to manifest, like I am the highest paid executive producer in the world. I'm an award-winning actress. I blah, 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 whatever it is, I am this, I am that, I am speaking my future self into existence. So I would definitely do your affirmations. I would be very, very mindful. Journaling, you said, is great, but you can also do an internal audit and internal awareness of the thoughts that you're thinking throughout your day, particularly about yourself, because that's the number one thing you want to turn around. If throughout your day you're thinking, oh, I'm so stupid, I'm so fat, I'm so forgetful, oh God, like no one would ever reply to that email, no one's going to want to hire me, no one's going to want to love me, no one likes me, I always get everything wrong. if you are your biggest enemy throughout your day, of course, you're not going to feel good about
You're not going to attract anything good.
You're not going to attract anything good. So your number one thing that you need to start to do is become your own best friend. Really train yourself to only say loving and life-affirming things about yourself. So throughout the day, write down thoughts that come to you. Don't audit at first. Don't criticize. If you're saying I'm stupid, if you're saying I'm fat, if you're saying I'm insecure, if you're saying whatever it is, write them down. And then at night, reflect on them. Be like, when was the first time I thought, or who was the first person that told me I wasn't good enough? Who was the first person who told me I was stupid? When was the first time I felt abandoned? And then that way you can start to trace back to those core moments that formed those thoughts.
Right.
You might even realize, I don't actually think that. My mom made this one comment about how I looked in jeans one time, and now I always think I'm fat and I always have to diet. My mom didn't mean to plant that seed in my head, but I took it that way. Or maybe she did, because not everybody has great parents. You just never know. But then you can say, okay, now I see why I'm conditioned to think that. But if I was conditioned to think it, I can be unconditioned to unthink it. And I am the authority on me. So I get to decide how I choose to treat myself moving forward. And I think that's really—
I love you. You're my new best friend. You are my new best friend.
We're going to whoop it up.
I know, right? You're my new best friend. I love that we're the authority of our mind and ourself. Nobody can tell us.
And you're also the authority of your own life. Don't let your friends, don't let your family, don't let society, don't let Instagram dictate to you what you know to be true for yourself. There are people who are 25 getting married because Cosmo said to, and all their friends are, and they're getting pressure from their parents, but they have no idea who they are. They don't really love this person. And then in 5 years, they're all getting divorced. And it's a mess. And they feel like they've wasted part of their life. Again, it goes back to, you are the ultimate authority on you. And this is your one precious, unique life. I'm a believer, so I say God. People can, whatever language you want to on it, but that God has given you. So the best way to show your appreciation and your gratitude to God for this one unique life is to own it. Take in your power, set your standards, have your boundaries, and know that you are enough simply because you exist. You are entitled to everything you want simply because you are here. That's it. It's enough. That's it. Everything else is icing and gravy. But when you
and we can
show
create
up fully in your own power, it's like we were talking about before, one person can walk into a room and she doesn't have to open her mouth, and you know exactly who she is, exactly how to treat her, and exactly how to approach her. And you can watch it's like, how they talk about predators? Again, narcissists and empaths stuck to each other. Predators know who they can make their prey.
Manipulate.
They know who they can manipulate. There are some people who love and respect themselves, therefore you are going to love and respect them. Because I don't know if you listen to Neville Goddard, but he has this saying where he says, everyone is you pushed out. So if you don't value you, then people aren't going to value you. If you don't love you, people aren't going to love you. If you don't respect yourself, then people aren't going to respect you. And if you think about it, a lot of marginalized groups or people who are taking advantage of, usually their mindset is from a lack mindset rather than an abundance mindset. Think about celebrities. We just give celebrities money and free things, like the people who actually have the means, but because they show up knowing who they are. And so then everybody wants a piece of that.
And they don't know the struggles that they have by being exposed and being a celebrity and all that. So we're about to wrap up. I wanted to say my very best to you. I hope I get to meet you in person, and let the listeners and viewers know where they can, follow you or, kind of reach back out to you. So
yes. So everyone out there, you can go to my website. It's candywashington.com. You can also find me on Instagram at candywashington. I also host a weekly self-care podcast called Sugar Pills, a practical guide to self-care. That's available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you listen to your podcast. You can get my books on Amazon and also on Barnes & Nobles. And you can watch Narcissist on Amazon Prime and on SoFi TV.
I'm actually going to look at that. So as a reminder, we are again all on platforms too. If you could give me 5 stars and subscribe, that will keep me going. So I want to thank you, my very best to you. I learned so much from you, and hopefully we'll get a chance to meet someday. You're up in LA,
that.
right?
I'm in LA. I would love to whoop it up with you.
Okay, I know how to do it.
I'm here for it.
Okay,
yes.
good to
and
see
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. My very best to you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient narcissist.
And basically narcissist increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.